green economies tend to crack efficiency first. There's a great quote in there. The reason efficient companies are green companies is attention to detail, and it's efficient companies that tend to be green, not green companies that are efficient. And I think that's where DEFRA, you might not always think that's where we come from, where government, my department, Department of Environment, wants to come from. 3 key points for us today to set the context, to try and steer where we're coming from. Sustainability does make good business sense. You just heard Tom talk about that, but we really believe that, and we want to help you get there. Government, you've heard it, committed to being the greenest government ever. What does that mean? Is it just words? Is it just us spouting stuff? What do we mean by that? What are we going to do? And what's DEFRA's role in that transition to what we're calling the green economy? That's my job. Now, some of you may have been a bit flummoxed by the Andy Gray, Richard Keys incident this week, but it does show the power of football to get a message across either the right or the wrong way. And Mike and my team here said to me, look, investing in sustainability can be a bit like supporting your favourite football team. Hard to pick the right winner. Once you do, you're pretty attached to it, pretty stuck to it. Enjoyable or frustrating, depending on how it goes. But making your contribution to supporting your team is ultimately rewarding and the right thing to do. It may not work for everybody, let's be honest, especially when, like me, you support Manchester City. And in fact, the good news is that their record on sustainability is significantly better than their record on the football pitch. And if you go to their website, you'll see it's not immediately obvious that big football clubs are so keen to invest. But the last time I was on a podium like this, it was with Karen Brady from West Ham and West Ham United. Again, a huge engagement program on how they're driving sustainability, dealing with the youth in the area, to dealing with how they're greening their stadium. To get a new one, those who have been through the Pick Stadium, it's a fantastic example of how you can actually invest in key British business and be sustainable at the same time. My role in DEFRA is driving forward this sustainability green economy. It's a bit like the FA in a way, it's just as popular in Whitehall as the FA is sometimes, and with business. But we are there to develop the laws of the game, if you like, the policy behind it, and make sure, part of our job is to ensure the natural environment is protected, but we recognise the need for continued economic growth. It's critical, in the same way as the FA has got to look at developing football, thriving sport. And, just like football, football's more than a game, it's a business. It's driven by results, the bottom line. No one wants to be at the bottom. You can play pretty football like Arsenal, but if you don't get the results, you're wasting your time. And we have the same view with you on business. So we are as committed to the growth agenda as any other department. It's just got to be the right kind of growth. Sustainability, therefore, for us, it just makes good business sense. First point. It's wider than innovation. Emissions are important, but also you want to drive out waste, support communities, protect the natural environment, which I'll come back to, reduce resource usage, and protect habitats. Ford is doing a huge amount of that. Looking forward to hearing Joe talk about how they're driving emissions, but also working to preserve flora and fauna around their facilities. Sustainable development makes good business sense because it shares values, you know around that, competitiveness, innovation, integrating business into the community, mitigating operational impacts, reducing operational risks, also clearly supports external relationships and developing, as Tom said, human capital, how you develop that into your business strategy. So tackling resource efficiency is not just an environmental initiative, it makes commercial sense, and you can save money by using resources such as water, energy, raw materials more efficiently. You've heard it thousands of times, but we always say it. We reckon about 2% of UK business profits per year are lost through inefficient use of energy, water, and waste. Poor usage. Simple changes, that's in excess, by the way, if you made them, of £6.4 billion per year lost. It's just stupid, it's just common sense. Carbon, everybody knows about carbon. Don't need to go on about it for too long because we've got targets, regulations, incentives, penalties, maybe too much, by the way. Come back at us on that. Sometimes there's a confusing picture. But the aim is clear. We need to decarbonise, we need to grow our industries and businesses, we need to save ourselves money, and we need to do them in tandem. There are trade-offs. Brief word on water. Water for us is going to be the new oil. Globally, that's certainly true. But I suspect that the current UK position is not tenable. Look at what happened in Northern Ireland over Christmas and the problems there when you do hit problems of water supply. So we need to build a fit-for-purpose infrastructure. Otherwise, we are literally pouring money down the drain. You're literally pouring money down the drain. and leading to environmental degradation, which I have to look after. I always quote this in every conference you've heard me speak at, 11,000 litres it takes to make a pair of jeans. It's pretty bonkers. It's a pretty bonkers manufacturing process globally. It's just not tenable. So we know we're going to have to change it, find a new way to invest in water, charge realistic prices for it, which may be uncomfortable for government, business and the consumer. And we need to change behaviour so that people, businesses see water as a valuable commodity. Bottom line, clearly by investing in processes to make your business more sustainable, you can improve your bottom line, drive down costs, open up new markets. There may not be always, as Tom said, an immediate return, and that can be difficult, particularly in the hard economic climate we have, as evidenced this week. But the business case is clear, invest in sustainability, and you should save money. We've got lots of examples of that. Look at some of our booklets on can you afford not to, as we call it. Robert Wiseman Dairies, big major milk processor, voluntary agreements to improve sustainability in that sector. They diverted 96% of their waste from landfill, targeting 100% reduction. New technologies, they're looking at 20% absolute reduction in water use. Fabulous results. Resource security is also a big subject. I talked to my Foreign Office opposite numbers about this. You all know China owns 97% of rare earths. A lot of your businesses depend on that. What are you going to do about that? What are we going to do about that? I always quote the lithium one. Those of you that use batteries in your business processes and use lithium, 50% of lithium deposits in Bolivia. What's that going to mean for businesses? What technologies are you going to do? And then there's a wider question of other resources such as water and the big 12 natural resources that DEFRA has identified. We can talk about that later today, of real concern that are running out in the world. It's not just big businesses though. Premier Waste Management, a waste management company, is also signatory to the voluntary construction sector commitment to halving waste to landfill. Great success there as well. Benefits, reduced cost, increased revenue. But it's not just the environmental theory, therefore, that we're talking about. Sustainable development, sometimes you hear just trotted out as words, is a way of investing for the future, a way of saving on the bottom line and actually dealing with these huge global problems. We're committed to being the greenest government ever. I hear you say, go on, then you're just using those words again. What are we doing? Well, our overriding priority actually is to return the UK's economy to balanced, sustainable growth. That has to be our overriding objective, and it is for DEFRA. But within that, there are lots of meetings in Whitehall. The Deputy Prime Minister had one on Monday with key ministers, including Oliver Letwin, the Chancellor himself, who's looking at accounting for sustainability, on how do you drive a green economy, what are we talking about? Jonathan Porritt attacked me last week, you'd be glad to know, in a blog, for saying that the Treasury was the perfect place from which to drive sustainable development. I genuinely believe that. It's not about an environmental department from the sidelines sniping and saying why I'm dealing with the environment. It's about making it part of core business, government, policy activity, how we are driving that sustainable development agenda. Green economy is different because as well as providing jobs and services, we can point to how many, it'd be interesting to work out whether we can work out how many the green economy is going to drive. It also does manage our environment sustainability and supports our improved well-being. Lots of things happening here with government. You all know about the climate targets. Key point there for you is they're not going to change. I don't see those overarching targets on carbon changing. It gives you a degree of certainty, at least on the energy front. It's not easy though. Similarly, we're looking at how you value the natural environment. We're going to bring out a white paper in April, May, on how do you value what we call ecosystem services, the big critical green infrastructure, water, air, the environment, natural environment. How do you build it into your business bottom line? Because if you're not using them sustainably, ultimately you're going to end up with key economic problems. How do we build that in? We're also going to maximise benefits to the UK. You've heard about the Green Deal, enabling firms to offer households and businesses energy efficiency improvements. Hopefully no upfront costs on that. Similarly, Regional Growth Fund, there will be £1 billion or so pounds that's going to be looking at how can we help green businesses, green growth. Similarly, with new global markets, South Korea and China, I would argue, we're ahead of us in a lot of this. Department for Transport are looking at consumer incentives through the public car grant that Joe will know about to try and stimulate that market. So we're looking at new businesses. In the meantime, we have to try and minimise the short-term costs to you. That's not easy. Because this will have impact and it will have costs, and it's difficult at times when the public purse and your private purse is constricted. So DEFRA, BIS, DEC, three departments are looking at what we're calling a roadmap to a green economy, not telling you how to do it, but portraying a vision, a framework of certainty into which you can fit your businesses. How do you maximise economic growth within carbon environmental constraints? How do you decouple growth from carbon emissions, resource use, wider environmental impacts? And how will we support and enable the growth of low-carbon environmental goods and services sectors for domestic and international markets? So new technology, making changes to the way we produce things, investing in new infrastructure, and thinking globally as well as locally. Not least because the impact of environmental goods and services and supply chain is as much global as it is local. DEFRA's role, last point, supporting the transition to green economy. We would argue we have a clear role to play at every level, driving sustainable public sector practices, we don't often lead by example in a good way, to working internationally to remove obstacles, preventing sustainability, becoming part of a normal core business. We do have new proposals on procurement and operations on the government estate. We are going to come out with those in the next couple of weeks, which hopefully demonstrate we are pushing further and further on wastewater and carbon. And we have a firm responsibility to ensure that the framework we put in place, regulatory, financial, voluntary, is clear, proportionate to what you're capable of, consistently focused on delivering an economy that can grow successfully and sustainably, the genuine green economy. So we're working with partners such as RAP, businesses, local authorities, consumers to tackle those challenges. You need the evidence and the framework. Again, we're not going to tell you how to do it. Packaging is one area where we're aiming to provide the evidence, help you provide the evidence, and then voluntary frameworks of businesses. Boots, again in our book, the Boots have recently saved, it may not seem a lot of money, but it's still £125,000 a year through using reusable transit trays instead of one-use trays for the delivery and display of sandwiches. Simple thing, helps the environment, helps bottom line for business. So, policy measures that we're going to utilise to deliver these changes, setting standards, clearly, raising sustainability of energy and other natural resources and products, engaging with industry and international partners to drive that internationally. Developing guidance for companies on impacts. How do you measure impacts on that supply chain? And impacts of consumption. Leading by example, set those policy frameworks. Encourage you to invest with confidence, knowing that we're not going to change halfway through. Taking a lead by procurement, for example. We still procure, we may have cut quite a lot of our budgets, we still procure £260 billion worth of goods. So if we can't drive sustainability, then it's pretty sad. That's the economic we're coming to do that. And then encouraging best practice. I think this is what you can do a lot of today. Those examples. How do you do it? What's the best way to do it? And work forward on voluntary agreements if we can get there, without regulation, without burdens, getting into that space where it just makes common sense. So I think that's why you're here today. Look at that problem, find the solutions, spread best practice, and determine what you need from us in government. Be frank about that. What are we doing wrong? What might we do better? That really matters to us. Either way, I don't think you have a choice. Climate change is happening. If you're not ready for it, you're screwed in business terms. I'm absolutely certain of that. You will not have a business in 15 to 20 years' time if you're not prepared for it. Doing nothing is not an option in this business. So it's not about theory, government policy, it's about practical action. And that's what I think we're going to hear from Joe in a minute. So enjoy the day, come back to us with ideas, and we will respond. Failure is definitely not an option. We cannot afford to be unsustainable in the economy and in the environment. You will hear throughout the day, there are several grey DEFRA bureaucrats around. Please try and identify them. Talk to them about what you need from us. I wish you well. Thank you.